Good morning or afternoon, everyone. My name is Mariela Salinas, and I'm a marketing specialist here at Educate 360. Welcome to today's webinar, AI Fundamentals for Everyone, presented by our amazing instructor, Andrea Imler. We are using the Zoom session for today's webinar, and we will be sharing a copy of this recording with you in an email after the webinar. We do encourage participation throughout the webinar, so please use the chat option or the Q&A option for our short Q&A portion after the presentation. Educate 360 is so excited to present this webinar today. I will now hand it over to you, Andrea.
Thank all of you for attending. So today when we're talking about AI fundamentals for everyone within the next half an hour, there's obviously AI is such a big topic. We're barely going to just barely touch the topic of and get the topics very high level today, just because it is such a very, very big topic. But this will give you a good start to start thinking about AI. So we're going to really kind of just start off with some AI fundamentals, some terminology, what makes AI work. There's three components that are needed. We'll talk about the definition of what's considered to be AI. We'll talk about some different functions of AI in business, some very specific areas that no matter what kind of industry or company that you work for, these are things that can help AI for every type of industry. And then we'll talk about some of the things that is it right for your company to start implementing AI, and what kinds of AI do you want to start with working with? There's some business requirements that maybe you need to think through first before you just jump into it, so make sure that you're successful. So we'll talk about some of those business requirements also. So to start with some of the AI fundamentals, to start with the definition of AI, artificial intelligence. The definition is that it's the ability of a machine to exhibit human-like intelligence. Well, that's open to a lot of interpretation. So we do need to interpret what is human-like intelligence. And there's three factors that determine human-like intelligence. One factor is that one can perceive its own environment. A second factor is to take actions to be able to achieve a goal. And a third factor is to be able to obtain knowledge and apply that knowledge for problem solving. And we're seeing that artificial intelligence is able to do these three things when it's trained to do this. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit later also today. And so this is our definition that for AI, it has to have these three common factors. Now, the next bullet says AI will revolutionize business. That kind of sounds like it's in the future. It already is revolutionizing business, and it's just going to keep doing that. There's constantly new AI tools being developed and types of AI. We're going to talk about generative AI a little bit here in just a few moments. And there's advancements with this on a regular basis. So it's not just in the future, it's now that it's already starting to revolutionize business. So when we get into some of the different functions of how it's used, we'll see of how it is actually changing how companies already are doing business. And it's something anyone can understand its impact. And what we mean by that is that you don't have to be a high-level technical person to understand how AI can impact an organization. You don't have to have that technical expertise. You don't have to be a programmer to be able to really understand how it can benefit an organization. And so again, we'll talk about the design requirements. We'll kind of hit on that, how everyone can kind of be involved with that. So when we talk about AI, though, there's three basic technologies that are needed in order for us to have AI. The first technology is we do need some cloud computing involved with AI. Cloud computing is this approach where we're going to provide our computing services and other resources over a network of distributed servers and other infrastructure. The amount of data needed for AI is so great that companies just cannot do this all on their own. We have to offload some of those AI costs by using cloud computing in these networks. If a company was trying to do all their data on their own servers, they have so many servers and they need space for those servers, it's just not going to be cost effective for most companies. And so by having the cloud, or we can store a lot of that data on the cloud, helps offload a lot of those high AI costs, which means that companies of all shapes and sizes can afford to do AI. There's a very important component is the cloud computing aspect of it, which has allowed us and has actually enabled AI to advance in the last several years so much. A second technology for AI is we need graphical processing units. Central processing units just cannot handle the AI components. We're going to see as I talk about AI in a moment that it uses a lot of algorithms, and central processing units just don't have the capability to process those algorithms. Whereas a GPU, again, a graphics processing unit, this kind of computer chip is designed to process graphics, images, and other visual media, but not just to process, it has the ability of doing AI calculations and the algorithms it can actually compute. So these general purpose GPUs carry out tasks that were traditionally assigned to central processing units. And so that with cloud computing, and the third component is what allows us to actually have AI in this day and age, the way that we're starting to learn it. The third component is, whoops, went too far, there we go. The third component for the enabling technology is we need big data. We need massive amounts of collections of data. We need such large data and complex that they require advanced tools to process and analyze them. The volume, the amount of data that we need, the variety from different types of sources, the velocity of it. This is what drives AI to make good decisions and have good data, is the fact that we have large, massive amounts of data. And it's not like we get the data once and okay, we have large amounts of data, we're done. We're constantly getting more and more data. So the technologies really go together. We need a lot of data, big data. And because it's so much, we need the cloud to store a lot of that data. And we need the graphical processing units to actually do the advanced algorithms that we need for, again, those large amounts of data. So we definitely, these three things together is what enables us to be able to even do artificial intelligence. So the term artificial intelligence still is a very broad term out there. There's so many different technologies with artificial intelligence, the ways that it's being used. So there's two types of artificial intelligence that when we start talking about it, we really classify and categorize artificial intelligence as being general AI or narrow AI. So general AI would be artificial intelligence that has the same or even better cognition than humans. They can really extrapolate reasoning. They can solve multiple novel, new problems that they've never encountered before. This is not a reality right now. We are not even close to being at general AI. Maybe someday we will be, but right now, this is just the movies. This is our TV, our movie scripts. We are not anywhere near general AI. Where we are is in the second category of AI. We're in what's called narrow AI. With narrow AI, our artificial intelligence can approximate human cognitive traits. They can mimic it. And the ways they can do that is because they learn from massive amounts of data that are processed with algorithms through GPUs and stored on the cloud. So they don't really have a true capacity of actually being able to reason things out. They can look for patterns. They can look for information that's being told to them that was a good decision or that was not a good decision, and they can learn from that information. They can look at a lot of data and then see something that looks like an outlier, doesn't fit in with the rest, and they can exclude it by being able to recognize that this doesn't fit in with the rest of things. What's that Sesame Street? One of these things does not belong, and you have things that look similar and one thing that's not. It can do that with massive amounts of data with the algorithms. It's programmed to look for those outliers and exclude them. So the other thing with narrow is typically at this point, the AI that we're working with is designed to solve one or a few different types of problems or do certain types of activities. So for example, there's generative AI that's made specifically for text, like ChatGPT. There's generative AI specifically to do images, or like DALI. There's generative AI that specifically it solves working with video. And there's a new one out there right now called Sora that's really, really cool to look into. Um, this is our current reality. This is where we are. So this example, like of a Roomba, this vacuum cleaner has AI in it. And basically it fits those categories of what is included for AI. It's learned how to go and make paths to clean the floor. It's learned to be able to identify if there's a drop off and whether it's safe for it to go down or it needs to stop and turn around. It's learned that when there's a lot of extra dirt in a specific area to go over that area more than once. It's learned that when it gets to a certain percentage on the battery, depending on how far its home base is, when to turn around and go home. It's learned all of that. And it is where we're at right now for artificial intelligence. So a couple more fundamentals though with artificial intelligence is that the way it works kind of behind the scenes, and this is very much an overview. There's a lot more in depth into these different areas that we can learn about. But basically, it all starts with the data. You need massive amounts of data. The more data, the more algorithms it can go through to get more precise answers, better results. Without a lot of data, it's very limited. There's a good chance that that results and what it determines is not going to be accurate. So we need a lot of data that we put into algorithms, and it takes that data again, and those algorithms can make it together a model. It can look for patterns. It can look for the outliers. And that model is what's used for the AI to make its predictions, to do its tasks. And then after it does the predictions, it does its task, we can evaluate, did it do the right thing? Was that a good prediction? And from that, it can learn. If it learns it was a good prediction, then we want to do similar kinds of predictions in the future. If it's not a good prediction, it knows not to do it that way again in the future. That helps the model improve. So now we got the model improving from the lower end, but at the same time, we're still getting more data with algorithms and creating more models from the left side at the same time. So data is going to be coming in from multiple different directions. To give an example of an AI that kind of uses this machine learning is, I don't know if any of you remember Deep Blue, but Deep Blue learned to play chess and it beat the world champion chess master. And it was given a lot of data of a lot of different moves and reactions. If a human did this, and what would we do in response? And those algorithms were able to find patterns and look for the prediction of what to do in different situations of where the pieces were on the board. And then it evaluated, was that a good move that it made? Or did a piece just get taken from a human, took the piece of the computer that wasn't a good move? And it learned from that. So it learned to make good moves in the future. And that improved its chess game until it was able to take on the world champion and win. So it went through these series of steps and being able to learn. So AI, Super Blue, years ago, I think that was 96, 97. Some of you may be too young to know about that still, but that was one of the ones that's more in the current era that we look back to as kind of the beginnings of AI in this time frame. There is a type of machine learning though. So machine learning, let me go back for a second, is these steps here, but there's a specific type of machine learning that goes one level down, deeper, and it's called deep learning. And this machine learning, the way it learns is a little different. It still uses the algorithms and all, but what it does is it takes something like, for example, an image, and it breaks it down into like pixels. From there, it can then reassemble those pixels to make shapes. Those shapes can be turned into objects. Those objects can be put together back to a high level, and then that can let it make and decide whether or not that this is a certain decision to be made. Like, for example, is this a picture of a person? So we can give it a picture, it breaks it down, it puts together shapes, and then yes, it came, oh yes, this is a picture of a person, decision made. So if you've ever had security where you've been on a site and they want you to click all the squares to prove you're a human that have a stoplight in them or a car, that they're using deep learning for that level of security to be able to detect whether a person clicks the right squares, are those pictures of stoplights or traffic lights and things like that to determine that you're a human when it's checking whether you're a bot or you're a human. So deep learning just goes that extra level down from machine learning, but it is a type of machine learning. So here's some examples of deep learning applications of how deep learning is being used in AI. Deep learning is being used as natural language processing. It's being used to be able to do conversion of text to speech. That's the speech to convert it to text, or taking text and converting it to speech. It's looking at how to do translation from one language to another. Deep learning is being able to be used with artificial intelligence to do translations. From a computer vision standpoint, with deep learning applications using artificial intelligence, it's able to do computer vision, where it can be able to, like, for example, some of your phones, to unlock it when it's locked, you can hold it up to your face, it can recognize your face, and then recognize, yes, that's you, and be able to unlock the phone using computer vision. And then the more traditional that a lot of us think about, the older type of artificial intelligence is the robotics end side of things. A lot of manufacturing, car manufacturers, manufacturing businesses in general have used robotics since the 1960s to be able to assemble, disassemble, and do some of the tasks that may be repetitive for humans to free them up to do other types of tasks, or maybe dangerous tasks like welding, where we can have the robotics doing that so it can be more safe for individuals. Robotics are a type of deep learning application. And then in this particular first section, one more here is a specific type of deep learning called generative AI. So in addition to these three, natural language processing, computer vision, and robotics, generative AI a lot of times is a combination of these a little bit. It just depends on the generative AI. But generative AI is where we have software generating with artificial intelligence to give us something where we give it a prompt and it can then provide something to us. There are 5 areas of generative AI. One is to generate text. So ChatGPT would be an example for those of you that use that, or the new Bard, which is now called Gemini. They just changed their name. Bing, which is a search engine that can do generative AI to produce text for us. These are a scenario where it produces text, or we can tell it, hey, ChatGPT, can you give me a 2-paragraph story about a dog and a small boy? And it can go through and actually generate that content for you, where it looks again like it's human-like, that a human wrote that. Another area of generative AI is it can produce pictures. Here's an example of that. There's a lot of different software packages for generative AI for images. This was made with a program called DALL-E and Midjourney, 2 different programs. There's a lot of them out there. Crayon, Crayon, is another one that's actually free that you can try playing around with. You have to, again, with a prompt, tell it what you're looking for. In this scenario, they told it they wanted a photograph, okay, of a monkey typing at a typewriter, wearing a small hat in an office, highly detailed and realistic. So with that, they did it a few times with 2 different programs. They came up with these 4 images that they decided to put into the slide for us here. So as you look at them, they all have a monkey. They all are wearing a hat. They all look realistic. They all have a typewriter that they're at. And they all have something that kind of imitates or kind of that makes us think that they're in an office. Like the first one, okay, maybe I don't see the desk and a wall, but I see like a book, like they'd be in an office. The second one, this wall with a window, and it looks like he's at a desk. It makes it look like an office setting. Same thing, this one, desk and a wall. The third one even has a window there. So it hits on all of those different prompts to produce this picture for us. A third type of generative AI is besides doing text and images, it can also do video. And up until just a few days ago, the video was one of the ones that's not been really advanced lately because they've been focusing most on text and pictures. But the video typically were like 10 seconds videos. Like they could mimic like you could show it a picture of a tiger and then say, I want a lion walking, and it can change and generate that with the prompt. A couple days ago, though, we do have some new video software being released that's for AI. OpenAI, who makes ChatGPT, just created one called Sora that can actually do a lot longer video clips. So we're going to start seeing a lot of advancements in that third area of generative AI very shortly. Google also just released a software program that can do longer than 10-second video clips. So we got the text, we got the images, we got the video. We also have audio, where it can do audio clips. So it's the spoken word, where it can be like synthesized voice, or actually you can make it sound like a human voice. And then the last one is that there's actually generative AI that can write programming code. So if your company is writing code, whether it be HTML, SQL, Python, and so many others, you can actually ask generative AI to write the code, or to take code you have and revise it, look for mistakes, do troubleshooting. Copilot. There's generative AI tools out there to do that. And so these are things that definitely can help different companies in different areas with generative AI in those 5 specific areas. Now, from a standpoint of actually using it in business, um, there's a lot of different uses for it. I've chosen 4 here to talk about. These are 4 areas that we're seeing that no matter really what industry you're in, you can use AI to help your company with your users' experiences and customer service. We can use AI to help segment our audiences for marketing purposes. We can use it to help secure our assets from a security standpoint. And companies can use it to optimize the processes that they're already doing and make their processes more efficient and effective within their organizations. So we'll talk about these individually briefly again. To improve user experiences, we're definitely using that from deep learning, the natural language processing to help analyze text, do speech recognition, natural language understanding, language generation, and translation. A lot of you may be using Microsoft Office products and you're coming out to start and use Copilot. That definitely helps with natural language here. And it's able to take, like, for example, you write up minute notes in Word, and you can have Outlook look at those notes and come and basically look at it and say, hey, here are the main key points that were in those notes, and be able to send it out to participants that were maybe at the meeting or weren't able to make the meeting. So we're seeing Copilot definitely help with natural language processing. So to help us process our languages, definitely this is something that a lot of organizations, especially if you're using Microsoft products, are going to start to see as an advantage to them to help them do their work. Another area is definitely chatbots in this day and age. Chatbots are AI systems that use NLP to engage in real-time text-based chatting with humans. And they've been improved a lot lately. One, they can definitely, chatbots, the more traditional we think is they're there for customer service, answer frequently asked questions. And absolutely, they can still do that. But we can go into these chatbots and ask them to take a persona on now that, hey, chatbot, I need you to be very highly technical in your answers. Or if someone's not really a highly technical person, they're asking a question, they can basically say, I need you to talk this at a layman level. And they can actually tell to take the persona so it knows how to respond and at what level of detail to respond with. We can do it for appointment scheduling. This is one that actually, to give a really good personal example, my dentist now, if you want to schedule an appointment for a cleaning, a general appointment that's a scheduled thing, not like an emergency, she has a chat bot. And you go and you interact with the chat bot to do your scheduling. And I'm going to tell you, I love it because you go and you basically chatbot's like, are you trying to schedule a cleaning appointment? And I say, yes. And then the next thing it's like, okay, is there a day of the week better for you? And I say, no, I don't care what day of the week. Is there a time better for you? That I do care about. It has to be after 3:30. And then it will come up with 4 or 5 different dates where there's an appointment after 3:30 that I can choose from. And before I even get done with the chatbot, it will say it is sending me a confirmation through email. And I'll look at my email and there it is. And I don't have to call and be put on hold. I don't have to call and wait for that person that's doing the schedule after they put me on hold to then look through their whole calendar looking for a date for 3:30 or after, going one day at a time till they find a date for me. Much faster as a customer. It's helping my customer service for feeling of how I feel about that company, because I'm able to get things done quickly. And definitely chatbots can help with the user experience in that way. Companies are using it for HR management, to like for and their employees to like maybe submit PTO requests and for research. So we're seeing chatbots really start to advance. It's not the chatbots that a lot of us know from old, where it doesn't understand what we're asking and we go around and around till we finally get a human. They really are getting more advanced because, again, going back to the 3 technologies, big data with the cloud computing and the GPUs, it's able to process our requests and understand them more and look through the large amounts of data to find the answers faster. So we are definitely seeing a lot of advancements with AI and chatbots. We also, besides with chatbots, what else? It can be used for agent assistance. Your employees that maybe are dealing with the customers, being able to get the customers' answers faster. Those agents may not know every possible answer. But using an agent assistance with AI, it can help them find the answers quicker. It's very much like a knowledge base. But there's a lot more data again that it can pull from to help them get the right answers to give to your customers. It can be used for sentiment analysis. A lot of times our organizations were asking for feedback from our customers of how their experience was, whether they're doing it through a survey or they're doing it like through some kind of a social app. Well, if we have a lot of customers, it may not be practical that we can go read through all those responses from our customers. And so some of them we may not get to or even ever see if a human's going through and reading those and responding to them. But again, we can have AI applications that can go through and read those responses and determine, is this a good or a bad response, and be able to react to it and send a message back to that person. So if they had a big concern, a problem, it can maybe even I just identify it for, this is something a human needs to look at and deal with. If it was a good response, it can say thank you, things like that. And so again, we're getting our customers feel like their voices are being heard from us. Whoops. It can also be used for recommendation systems. We've all experienced this a lot, probably if you go to a website and you buy something, and then you're being recommended, here's some other products you would like based on your past purchases. Or it could be something about like even social networking. You have 5 common connections that this other person has on LinkedIn. You might want to connect with them on LinkedIn. It's recommending things to us, whether it be a product or people that we might want to connect with, or maybe research that maybe we want to know more about that topic because you've researched that news article or a magazine article on a specific topic. And this can, again, help improve our users' experience because it's like we know what they want ahead of time, and it saves them time from having to go do that legwork themselves. It can help us in the marketing aspect of being able to segment our audiences by being able to look at, again, vast amounts of data and be able to put people into different groups. And the purpose of that typically is to do predictive segmentation, where we're going to basically go in with the AI. It's going to, I shouldn't say we, the AI is going to go in and be able to start identifying things about that group that they have in common. It may find that there's one specific group that's more likely to return a product than another group. And so that could definitely depend on, if that information, how we want to interact with different groups, different segments. It can help do targeted campaigns where we may want to target different people, different types of companies, different age groups, with different types of marketing. And this can help us, again, be able to segment that out so we can send the different marketing to the right individuals. It can also help secure our assets from a security standpoint. It can do a lot of risk management for us, the AI, because again, with large amounts of data, it starts to learn the things that potentially it can detect the risk, analyze it, score it, and then it can even respond to it. Or again, it can score it to bring it to our attention as a human, what we need to respond to. So it just depends on how it's programmed, but it can help speed up the risk management processes. It can help us identify potential threats that are out there to technology, people, events that could affect our organization. Viruses, ransomware, botnets, phishing, things like that it can detect. It can help definitely look for fraud and identify different potential fraud that there could be, whether it be through transactions or looking just for outlier that, hey, this is an unusual purchase by this person. They usually don't purchase sporting equipment, and all of a sudden there's a bunch of orders for sporting equipment. It can look at signature analysis and look and see if maybe someone's identity has been stolen. So AI can definitely get in there and look for a lot of information through bank transactions, credit card transactions, looking at contracts, ballots, and things like that to look for where there could be some fraud going on. And my mouse just fell asleep. There we go. My mouse fell asleep for a second. It can help give security notifications and alerts. So when we do have different security issues maybe going on, it can prioritize them and alert the right people. It can filter it, show it on dashboards, and even maybe suggest different remediation to get things fixed with any security issues. And then the last one that can help a lot of our organizations is to optimize our processes, help our companies be more efficient, effective. So whether that be with industrial robots and that kind of an industry, usually manufacturing, where we can have robots doing the welding for things that could be harmful to individuals, or doing assembly, disassembly, things that could affect humans, but and repetitive jobs to free them up for other types of jobs, inspections, packaging, labeling, things like that. Or whether we're using it for improving our processes to help us do predictive analytics, to be able to help do forecasting behaviors of our customers. What are they going to want? How much inventory should we produce? When are they going to want it? How many people should we hire? What's our staffing needs? Looking for these kinds of behaviors and predicting with analytics. Since we have so much data, we can have the AI doing these predictions for us. So with that, again, there's so much more to all of this. I know we're kind of just hitting the high points here, but if we decide that maybe our organizations can benefit from using AI, there's really kind of 4 steps that we need to go through. We need to start by identifying design requirements, the data requirements. We need to identify risks. And when we get to those first 3 things, we may decide that, we don't have a need for it, or we don't have the data we're going to need, or there's too many risks involved. That may make us think about, are we looking at the right type of AI? Is there a different type that would better fit us? Or is this something we don't need right now? But keep in mind that we may need it in the future. And once we decide that we do need it, and we do decide the right type of AI that we need, then we can come up with a strategy of actually how to develop that AI. So going through the kind of things that we need to identify. But first of all, we have problems that AI could help us with. Are there areas that we could, again, maybe we have very dangerous tasks that we could use AI to help us to take away some of those dangerous tasks from the humans? Or maybe we're having trouble hiring people right now. We can't staff. Can we use AI for some of those repetitive tasks? That would solve the problem, that we would free those people up to do other tasks. So to get over the staffing issue that we might have. So we need to basically business case analysis, cost justification, to really make sure that we have a need for this. And there have been so many just different types of AI out there. Again, we're trying to figure out what problems need to be resolved with our company that AI could help us with. Don't just get it because it's the next greatest, best thing that we've heard about without having a need for it. We need to know how we're going to use it. Then we need to start really, again, the money aspect of it. How much is it going to cost us? It's not free. We need data. We need maybe cloud computing. We need GPUs. So we have some of that already. But we need to figure out, again, how much is it going to cost? Are we going to buy AI that's already created? Are we going to create it ourselves? How much is that going to be versus how much benefit are we going to receive from it? Then we need to figure out what our data requirements are, because sometimes you're like, yes, this is going to help us. This is going to benefit us. But only, again, if you have the data that it's going to learn from. So we need to think about the data requirements. How accurate is the data that we have availability to? Is it recent data, or is it old data that maybe is outdated and not going to be useful? How complete is our data? What's the formatting? Because potentially different AI software is going to work differently with different types of formatting. How much data? And what's the usability of it? Is it something that actually is meaningful? Any deficiencies in those areas is going to cause the AI not to, again, learn what we needed to learn to make good predictions, and we're not going to get the best results that we're looking for. So again, these are things that we consider, and we need to come up with, okay, if it's not accurate, how do we get accurate data? Okay, it's not up to date, how do we get recent data? And we need to come up and overcome those things for the AI to work the way we want it to. We need to also know how to control our data. How are we going to acquire it? How are we going to store it? Who owns it? Who has what permissions to use it? Who has permissions to make changes to the data? How are we going to share the data? And how are we going to dispose of it once it's outdated data that's no longer useful? How we need to think about it from the whole life cycle, from the time that we obtain it to the time that we dispose of it. And then we also need to think of the security of our data. What data do we have that could be at risk for being copied or disseminated, modified, deleted, unavailable? We need to think about how we're actually going to secure our data. That's going to be a very, very important aspect of it. And then we need to be thinking about risks overall. Risk management is a part of every organization. So of course, it just makes sense that we would be doing risk management with also artificial intelligence. We would need to be thinking about things like, what's the impact with the risk on our employees? Is it going to displace jobs? Now, most of AI is not intended to reduce our our employees. It's there to free them up to do other things so the companies can expand, companies can grow. We want AI to take the place of these repetitive types of tasks that we can program it to do, so we free up people to for the companies to actually grow. Um, but even with that, there could be lost productivity from our employees because they feel techno stress. They may feel that their job they have insecurity because we may be moving them to a new position that they're not comfortable with or don't already have knowledge about. So there's going to be an impact on productivity for a while when we introduce AI. We need to be aware of what that is so we know that it's going to happen so we can help our way through it. Um, and some employees will struggle to adapt, and we're going to try to help them. It will disrupt work if they're struggling to adapt. And so we want to help them get through any new changes because as again adults, changes can be scary for people, and they're especially when this is their livelihood. Um, so is there going to be an impact on employees? Now, in some industries, could it just completely take the place of jobs of humans? It could. Typically, in most scenarios where we talk to companies using AI, that's not the intention of using AI. It's again to get those people higher level skills so a company can grow and expand. Or it's there to help alleviate some of the hiring, staffing issues that companies are having. We need to also think about the day-to-day risks that could happen. Could AI fail? Absolutely. Again, if we don't have a good data, we don't have a good strategy to start with, it may not work. It may not give us value or be beneficial to us. So we need to be thinking about things like that and dealing with those risks on a day-to-day basis and try again to, if we start seeing these risks, dealing with them early on to mitigate the risks. Of course, a big thing is about ethics of using AI, and this is going to be a topic all on its own. What are the ethics that surround using it from a privacy or accountability standpoint, being transparent, fairness, non-discrimination? A lot of it, again, goes back to you're only as good as the data. If a lot of your data has discrimination in the data, then AI is going to have some discrimination in the AI. And that might be an ethical consideration we need to think about. And that goes back to making sure we have good data. So it definitely is a thing that there's a lot of different ethical considerations that can be discussed at very lengthy conversations. But it's something, again, just to keep in mind and think about is what is our organization's ethics going to be about using AI? And then we got to think about it from a legal and regulatory consideration. Now, we actually don't have to think about this too much right now because there's really no laws around it right now. Especially here in the US, we are kind of taking the sit back and wait and see what everyone else kind of does kind of a attitude. There are some organizations that are coming up with standards, principles, Bill of Rights, but they're not laws. Other countries like India, they're coming up with a national strategy. Again, not a law, it's a strategy. Probably right now, from a legal consideration standpoint, the European Union, the EU, is taking the lead on this. They're coming out and doing acts and coming out with regulations and laws first. Most of those, though, still mostly are revolving around the minors and use of AI with minors and how it could affect minors and what we can and cannot do with AI. So we're still kind of, I'm going to call it, we're still in the wild, wild west when we're dealing with AI. We don't have a lot of regulations overseeing us yet. We know, just like anything else, though, it's just a matter of time. So it goes back to our ethics. Even though there may not be any legal considerations that would affect you directly, from an ethical standpoint, this is where it's going to overlap for a little while. What's right, how to use it, what to use it for. And that's going to vary from company to company and what those ethics are. Okay, so that is the conclusion of that. I know I went a little bit over. I'm so sorry about that. But do we have any questions at this point?
Hey, Andrea. Yeah, we actually have a couple. One of
Okay.
them was asking about the AI photo generator. That one was called Dolly, you said?
DALL-E is the one that's done by OpenAI. It's DALL-E. Mid-Journey is another company, actually the company name is the same as the product that does the pictures. So Mid-Journey is another one that's really, really popular right now. And then there's one I'm going to just mention because it's a free one. Doesn't have all the bells and whistles. It was called Crayon, Craion. And that is one that it's a fun one to just to go out and play with it for a personal standpoint. It may not give you exactly what you're looking for, but sometimes it may. The Adali and Midjourney are ones that you do purchase.
Excellent. Alrighty, and we had one more question here about Copilot. Jan asks, as I recall, Copilot can summarize notes in Word. Can Copilot also listen to meetings and record?
So right now that's something that's in beta still. So it is intended that it will be able to do that. Right now, though, it's still in beta.
Awesome. Fantastic. And we had a couple of questions here about the recording. Um, just in case you missed it, we will definitely be sending an email after the webinar with a link to the recording, so be on the lookout for that. And if you need any more info on that, you can definitely visit us at newhorizons.com. But other than that, thank you so much, Andrea. This was a lot of fantastic info. And again, if anyone needs info on this topic, don't be afraid to visit us at New Horizons. Bye, everyone. Thank you
Thank,
so much.
thank you
And
very
thanks.
much.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrea. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.